festive folklore with you. This first one is all about the Christmas pudding. Did you know the Christmas pudding is meant to have 13 ingredients? It's said to represent Jesus and his 12 disciples. It's common practice to include silver coins in Christmas puddings. A sixpence was commonly used, or a threepenny bit, and if you found this, it would mean that you were going to be wealthy for the rest of the year. Obviously, there are choke hazards involved in this, but that obviously didn't bother people. Other charms that were used were a button. If you found the button, it was meant to symbolise that you'd remain a bachelor for the rest of the year. And also a silver thimble. A thimble would represent that you were going to remain unmarried, a spinster, or that you were thrifty. The idea of having charms in Christmas puddings gathered apace when silver manufacturers started producing tiny wishbones, which were meant to represent that you would have a wish if you found it, and also tiny horseshoes, which would mean that you would have good luck throughout the year. And finally, a small anchor. This would represent that your journey throughout the year would be a good one. So you've got all your ingredients, and now it's time to actually stir the pudding. It's traditional to get every member of the household to give the pudding a stir. My theory on this is because Christmas pudding is really stodgy in its mixture, and if you have to do this yourself, it absolutely kills your arm. So getting everybody else involved is not a bad idea. However, tradition says it's for good luck for the pudding. Which way you stir the spoon is also really important. In some parts of the country, it's traditional that men would turn the spoon in a clockwise tradition and that women would stir the spoon in an anti-clockwise tradition. Equally, it's also said in some places that if you stir any way other than clockwise or sunwise, it's very bad luck. I'm going to leave that one up to you. Flaming the Christmas pudding, which means setting light to it by pouring brandy over it and then putting a match to it, is quite a fun activity, if somewhat dangerous, and looks fabulous when you carry your Christmas pudding in. Where does this originate from? Well, all I can find is its association with Jesus' passion. I'm not quite sure how that relates to this, but the other things that I thought was maybe it's connected to the Yule fire and the idea that pre-Christian times we celebrated the solstice by lighting bonfires. Additional things to the Christmas pudding, other than things that are edible, may actually originate from as far back as the 1300s, when it was very traditional to create a 12th night cake. A bean would be put into the cake, or sometimes a ring, and sometimes a little silver crown. The finders of these things, when they were eating the cake, would then be made king or queen of 12th night. The sprig of holly is very often used to atop your Christmas pudding. It was certainly traditional in Victorian times. A holly sprig actually represents many things. One thing is that it's representative of the male, so it was the idea that by bringing holly into your household, that it would be a male-dominated household, so that's not so good. The other thing is it was a symbol of fertility, and finally a lot of people thought it was a protectorate as well. People would actually put holly around their doorways, plant holly bushes to protect them from the evil spirits that were lurking in the darkness of Christmastide. When to make the Christmas pudding? Well, there's even tradition around that. We're meant to make it on the Sunday before the first Sunday of Advent. It was known as Stirrup Sunday because people would go to church and hear the collect said, which was, "Stir up, O Lord, we beseech thee, O Lord, the wills of thy faithful people." Now, people weren't particularly thinking about that while they were sitting in church, because it was round about the time they should be making their Christmas cakes and Christmas puddings. And so it became known as, "Stir up, O Lord, we beseech thee, our pudding is in the pot." Good luck with making your Christmas pudding this year, and I hope you don't make a cannonball, which was a name given to a Christmas pudding that's, well, shall I say, slightly on the heavy side. Do try and keep alive some of these old traditions and ways, especially the ones that we've got throughout the Yuletide season.